Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Mike Bryan, Youth Engagement Manager for CyberUp. I'm joined today by Jason Scott, who is a cyber warfare operator for the 567th Cyberspace Operations Group and is also the co-founder of CyberHactics. Today, we're going to talk about network traffic analysis and how it is used in cybersecurity. So it's on to you, Jason. Take it away.
All right. Let me just move you guys. All right. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Well, morning, everyone. My name is Jason Scott. I'm going to be going over network traffic analysis with you guys today. So a little bit about me first. As I mentioned, my name is Jason Scott. I am a cyber warfare operator with the United States Air Force. Basically, what that means is I go out and defend Air Force networks and systems. I'm considered an ethical hacker for the Air Force. What that means is basically with permission from the customer, I go out and try to hack their networks so that I can identify anything that's broken or anything that has vulnerabilities and needs to be fixed so that an actual bad guy doesn't come in and compromise the network. I've been a part of a bunch of different missions in the past, so defending critical Air Force systems. That includes the F-35, that's one of the aircraft that I help defend, the F-16, as well as the A-10. And a lot of the defense of those systems were not just the actual fighters themselves, but the systems that supported those fighters. Because the last thing we want is for a pilot to go try to conduct their mission overseas, and an enemy is able to infect their systems with malware that makes their weapon system malfunction while in the air. Well, that's not something that we want. So that's part of the missions that I've done with the Air Force. I love cybersecurity so much that I started my own organization called CyberHactics. This organization focuses more on developing capture the flags, other cyberspace competitions, and just general STEM outreach in order to teach anyone who has a desire or a passion for cybersecurity the skills they need to get into that field. It's still, the organization is still in its infancy right now, but the future state of the organization is that it will provide a training platform so that individuals like you guys or anyone else interested in cybersecurity can visit that website, take some training modules, participate in some games in order to increase their skill set. In addition to the Air Force and being the co-founder of CyberHactics, I also work for a company called Alpine Security. I do this sort of on my off time. I work for them as a cybersecurity engineer. My job working with them is to conduct pen tests, which are basically just a fancy word for, again, ethically hacking into the customer's network so that we can pinpoint any weaknesses or vulnerabilities. And then in addition to that, we then also provide them with recommendations so they can go and build these frameworks to secure their systems. So all in all, I've been in the cybersecurity field for over 5 years. I've been in the Air Force now for 15 years. I love every minute of it, especially the cybersecurity stuff. And for those of you that are interested in it, there's a lot of opportunity right now for cybersecurity positions as our society becomes more dependent on these technologies and the internet. There's going to be a high demand for jobs in these fields. All right, so as I mentioned, today we're talking about network traffic analysis. So what is network traffic analysis? Sort of simply put, It's a process for monitoring, recording, and analyzing communication between computers. You can think of this as kind of like listening in on a phone conversation, or just sitting in a room and hearing conversations going on. To kind of put it basic, network traffic analysis is just listening in on the conversations going on between one computer and another. Because computers talk to each other, that's how the whole internet works. Network traffic analysis is listening to those conversations so that you know what machines are talking, who they're talking to, and what kind of files or information are being passed to these other computers. The whole point of conducting network traffic analysis is to identify anomalies, threats, and any other security issues. So typically you'll have an analyst looking at that communication between those computers because they're trying to find out if there's any malicious or any bad guys trying to communicate through that network or deliver malicious files. But it could also be just to identify any security flaws. So without even being hacked or worried about bad guys looking at the network, doing traffic analysis helps an organization or helps an individual identify what kinds of communication are happening across their network so that you can make the network more secure or you can make it more efficient. It's just getting that sort of big picture. And so the way these conversations happen is you have you, the user, you want to make a request out to a website, so you use your browser, send that information to your router. So in this case, let's talk about like your home network, for example. You would be on your laptop or your desktop. You would try to go to some website. That request is first going to go to your router. Your router is going to find that resource on the internet. The internet will respond and send it back to you. That whole communication, that whole line of communication is what we're looking at when we talk about network traffic analysis. Seeing those requests from one machine to another over something like the internet or even a closed network like your private home network. Some of my experience with network traffic analysis. So I've used network traffic analysis on about 10 different missions to see what computers were talking over the network. Some of the examples of things I found are discovering clear text passwords being sent over the internet. So a lot of times when you communicate from one computer to another, you want that traffic, that communication to be encrypted. Because what you don't want is to type in your password to say your email, and instead of encrypting it, your computer sends it clear text to the website, and anyone who is looking at that traffic can see in clear text what your password is. The way that it should work is that your password should be encrypted before it ever gets sent to whatever website you're plugging in your password to. So I've been a part of some missions where we've actually discovered clear text passwords being sent over the internet. And that's usually because there's no machine that sits between the user and the end website they're trying to get to that encrypts that traffic. Also, going to websites that are not secure, like you may have heard the terms HTTP and HTTPS. If you go to a website and you see the little padlock next to the URL, the address, that means that it's HTTPS, it's secure. So any information that you send to that website will be encrypted. If there's no padlock, or if it's the symbol with the padlock with the cross, the line going through it, that means it's not secure. And anything that you send to that website is getting sent in clear text. Anybody that is looking at that traffic can see exactly what you're typing in to go to that website. And I've been part of some missions where we've seen in government networks this kind of practice being done. And so thankfully, they brought someone like me and my squadron to go look at that, because it's better for us to find that than for a bad guy to find that. One other thing that we've done, or that I've done with network traffic analysis, is being able to download documents. We call this carving out of a packet capture, which is just a fancy word for the network traffic. So carving just means I can pull files out of the network traffic without ever actually accessing the source. So for example, if I'm sitting there and I'm recording the traffic going on between your computer and Gmail, I can, rather than going to Gmail and seeing what email you send, I can just pull it out of the network traffic without ever having to go to Google or to your machine. So I've done that a few times in some of the missions that I've been a part of, where we'll see files traversing the network, and so we'll carve them and pull them out to see if they contain any sensitive or classified information. Because what we don't want is, we don't want users sending classified or sensitive information across the network that anyone can just pull out of the network traffic. And then another reason why network traffic analysis is used, and some experience that I have with it, is discovering computers that are not supposed to be talking over the network. So in some instances, there are computers that they may be online, or you may have them in your house, but you never expect them to talk out to the internet or to talk to other machines on your home network. One example would be, if you have a printer at home and it's talking to Google, that's probably not normal traffic that you would expect to see your printer to do. And so with network traffic analysis, if you're looking at all the conversations going on your network, and you see your printer contacting Google or some website that you don't recognize, that might be an indication that somebody has busted into your printer and is using it to do bad things on your network. All right, so what kind of people are interested in network traffic analysis? So pretty much the same kind of people that are interested in anything cybersecurity. There's different kinds of people with different kinds of skill sets, but the most common skill set is people who like solving challenges and fitting pieces together. Because what network traffic analysis will allow you to do is, again, see all these communications going on in the network, and so you can piece together the different conversations and what's going on. That's especially helpful when you're trying to help an organization figure out where data might be leaking, or ways that a bad guy can infiltrate the network. Looking at those conversations will allow you to see if the right conversations are happening, or if there's anything going on that's not supposed to be going on. Which goes into, people who enjoy investigating and tracking down clues. Anyone who likes solving these challenges and investigating and trying to figure out the whole story of what's going on in the network, these people are typically drawn to skills like network traffic analysis. And again, people like to connect the dots, right? If you see this kind of traffic coming in from this website, maybe you want to see what other machines on your home network, or with an organization that you're supporting, are talking to. Because if you have one website that you know is bad, and you see a bunch of different machines on your network talking to that, visiting that website, that may be an indication that either a phishing campaign is going on and they're sending that link out to a bunch of different computers, or they've got some kind of established connection to your home network, and now they're forcing your other devices to talk out to that known bad website. And then overall, people who enjoy network security and ensuring that they have the most safe and secure environment possible. So again, it's not you don't just do network traffic analysis to find bad guys on the network. You use it to make sure that the right machines are talking to the right websites, they're talking to the right other assets on the network, so that you can make sure you have a safe and secure network that is communicating the way that it should be communicating. And then also, people interested in network traffic analysis may be individuals who just don't want their own networks, whether it's their personal, work, whatever, to get hacked by bad guys. So again, another reason why, another thing that network traffic analysis will allow you to look at is if you're using those clear text protocols that I mentioned. So if there's a traffic going to an HTTP site, or you're using an outdated version of an encryption protocol, something like TLS. I'm not going to get too in the weeds on that, but if you see a lot of communication going to unsecure protocols, network traffic analysis will allow you to see that so that you can fix it before you get compromised and potentially get hacked. All right, so there are a bunch of websites and tools and resources that you can use. Some of the best ones for online training resources are, number one by far is malwaretrafficanalysis.net. That website has a bunch of different challenges that are built by a professional. They're not malicious, despite the name malware traffic analysis. They are a bunch of PCAP files. PCAP stands for packet capture. Whenever you hear the word packet capture, we're talking about network traffic. So they have a bunch of PCAP files that you can download. You can sort of dissect them, investigate them, and try to find out what's going on in those in that network traffic. Two other sources are Over the Wire and HackerFire. So these are more CTF style websites, but some of their challenges do include network traffic analysis. So they may have some challenges on there that you can access where you download the PCAP file and try to solve the challenge for points. And then another really good resource is packetlife.net. Packetlife.net not only gives a bunch of cheat sheets, tutorials, but it also has some basic packet capture files that more accommodate beginners. So Packet Life is actually probably where I would go to start. If you guys are interested in network traffic analysis, that's the website that I would start with. And I'll actually go through and show you these websites a little bit once we're at the end of the slide here. Some of the tools that you can use for network traffic analysis. Wireshark is one of the most common tools used. The reason being, it's a simple downloadable application. It works on Linux, Mac OS, Windows. It's color coordinated, so it makes it a little bit easy to see what kinds of conversations are going on. It's got some great filtering capabilities. So if you only want to look at HTTP traffic, you can type in a filter to look for that. Wireshark is a great tool to get started with if you're interested in network traffic analysis. The other cool thing about Wireshark is you can, like I mentioned before, you can carve out files in Wireshark. That's pretty easy. And I'll actually, at the end of the slides, I'll actually demo how that's done. TCP dump is a command line version, or it's a command line tool that's very similar to Wireshark. It is much more difficult to read because there's no color coordination with TCP dump. It's all command line, so all you see is text. There's no buttons. There's no graphical user interface. This is more for it's a little more advanced and difficult to use than Wireshark is. And then getting down to Elk Stack and Security Onion. So these are advanced tools. I don't expect you guys to go in and play with these tools because it's a suite of tools, and you have to have a bunch of resources, a bunch of devices to be able to implement these. But just know, if you hear these terms, the Elk Stack, that stands for Elastic, Logstash, and Kibana. Those are all tools used with used to parse through network traffic and log files for these network communications. And then Security Onion is another tool. It comes in one sort of prepackaged virtual machine that you can download. And actually, I believe the latest version of Security Onion includes the Elk Stack. So if you guys play around with Wireshark and you realize that network traffic analysis is something that you enjoy and you want to do, Security Onion and Elk Stack is the next sort of logical step in furthering your skills with network traffic analysis. All right, so some advice that I have for you guys for network traffic analysis is becoming familiar with common network protocols and their associated ports. Trying not to get super deep into that, because that's a whole course in and of itself. But basically, network protocols are ways that communication over the network are handled. So HTTP is the network protocol for websites that you go visit. HTTPS is the secure version of that protocol. So whenever you're using the internet and you're visiting a website, you're using the HTTP or HTTPS protocol to access those sites. And then each network protocol has an associated port. So for HTTP, the port for that is port 80. And for HTTPS, the associated port for that is 443. And again, not going to go super deep into that. Just know, just familiarize yourselves with common network protocols and their ports. Because when you're looking at that network traffic, you'll see the ports associated with each one. And again, I'll go over that with you guys, demo that a little bit so that you kind of get a better feel for what I'm talking about there. So here's some examples. As I mentioned, HTTP and HTTPS, those are network protocols, and they ride over port 80 and 443. SMTP is a mail protocol, and that the port associated with that is port 25. Address resolution protocol is that's a protocol used to map hardware on your network. DNS is domain name service, and that rides over port 53. DNS makes it so that when you go to Facebook or your email, when you type in www.email.com, rather than having to type in the IP address associated with that website, DNS allows you to put in a name. So if you think about it like a phone contact list, nobody memorizes phone numbers anymore, right? In your phone, it'll just say mom, dad, and their phone numbers are associated to those contacts. That's kind of like DNS. Instead of having to type in their actual phone number, you click on mom, and it knows what phone number to call. That's how DNS works. Is you just say email.com, and it'll know what IP address is associated with that name. And then remote desktop, this is for Windows, rides over port 3389. The reason why I bring that one up specifically is because most individuals, especially on their home network, don't have remote desktop enabled on their home network. So if you're looking at your network traffic on your home network and you see a lot of 3389 traffic, that means somebody is using remote desktop to look at what you have on your screen of that computer. So if you're looking at your network traffic and you see 2389 and you know that you don't have remote desktop, there's no reason for any of your machines to use remote desktop, and you see that, that means somebody has a remote desktop session open on your screen and they're seeing what's on your computer. And then also, I would advise, if you guys are interested in network traffic analysis, to actually download Wireshark and familiarize yourself with the communications going on your home network. If you were to install Wireshark on your laptop or your desktop, whatever machine you're using now, you would only see the communication from your host to your router, your Wi-Fi router. But there are other tools out there that you can use to see the entire network conversations going on. But just to get started, I would say download Wireshark and familiarize yourself what's going on, the kinds of communication between your machine and your router. And then also, if this is something you guys are interested in, dive into those malware traffic analysis files to challenge yourselves and try to analyze each network traffic packet capture. I would actually say start with Packet Life, because Packet Life has more basic PCAPs that you can look through. Malware traffic analysis is a little more complicated, so that would be like the next step after Packet Life. To build your skills, how can you guys build your skills with network traffic analysis? For one, practice, right? So like I mentioned, download Wireshark, download some PCAPs, get a feel for how what network traffic looks like and how it communicates to different machines. Yeah, analyze those PCAP files. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. I would advise that you guys take a look at those. There's a bunch of videos that will show, basic network protocols and ports associated, and how to actually query those PCAPs to find the things that you're looking for. And as I mentioned, experiment on your personal PC to understand what kinds of communications are happening from your computer to your network router. I'm going to demo some stuff real quick. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've gone over so far? Okay, let me stop sharing real quick. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
It's blank, but we can see something.
Oh, weird. Okay, just a sec. Oh, okay, here we go. I think the wrong one. All right, now you guys can see it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so as I mentioned, packetlife.net is a really good resource to use for getting started with network traffic analysis. And so on this website, they have, they got a blog you can read, I guess. They've got some cheat sheets that show, and don't be overwhelmed by some of the material on here, because some of this stuff is really in the weeds, and I wouldn't expect beginners to know what BGP are or the different routing protocols, but there are some good sheets, like what is it? So Wireshark, the Wireshark display filter cheat sheet here, and it just shows what kind of filters you can apply to get certain kinds of traffic back. And then this one is probably the most helpful. I was talking earlier about network protocols and their ports. And so this is a list of common protocols and ports. So as I mentioned, port 80 is HTTP. Port 443 is, it says HTTP over SSL. It's just secure HTTP. 3389, it says terminal server, but that's remote desktop. Another common one is 8080 for other HTTP, and DNS. So when you're looking through Wireshark and you see some of these ports and you don't know what they are, this is a good reference to use. And the rest of these are all complicated. So I would say on here, this one is probably the most beneficial. And then also, as I mentioned, Packet Life has a bunch of different packet capture files. Some of them are a little advanced. Some of them are pretty easy. You can also search by the category. So if you look at web, they have this http.cap file, which is a pretty basic PCAP to look at. And I'm actually going to go through that one in just a moment. Malware traffic analysis is that other resource that I showed. In here you have some tutorials that will show you, no kidding, how to use, like using Wireshark, how to use filters, how to identify hosts or computers. Yeah, and a bunch of them here. And then if you go to traffic analysis exercises, these are all the PCAPs you can download and dissect, investigate, find out what's going on. Like I said, I would start with PCAP with a Packet Life first before going to any of these, because these can be a little challenging. And then let me show you guys Wireshark. So Wireshark, I'm reading from, you just do a Google search for Wireshark. Download it. It's a pretty install application. Once you have it, this is what it looks like. And so you could actually capture traffic going on your network as a panel. So if I was to do this, this is all the network traffic right now, real time, going on my between my hosts, my laptop, and my router. If I open up what I just showed, so this is that http.cap file from Packet Life. Oh, this guy right here. Looks really complicated, really confusing. This is all really hard to read, but if you look at, it's got some of the clear text in here where you can kind of see what's going on. And so right here, we can see, for example, that my local machine talked to this website, which is packetlife.net. And it performed a get, which means that it pulled something down from the website. And when it pulled down, was this logo.png. So if you remember, I talked about how without accessing the website or the source, I can carve files out of a packet capture. So I'm gonna grab this logo.png without actually going to the website. So let me close this real quick. So, and I can say export objects, HTTP. This will show me all the objects that were pulled down from this website in this network traffic. And so this is the only file that was grabbed. Let's just load it up here, PNG. So I'm going to save that. I already have it. But this is what it looks like. So this is the file that was pulled out of the packet capture. It's just their logo, but I didn't have to go visit their website to get this. As long as I'm sitting between the source machine and the destination, packetlife.net, I can pull files down that were sent back and forth between those two machines. All right, so that's Wireshark. And again, it color codes everything, so it makes it easy. This all happens to only be HTTP, so that's why it's all showing up green. But as you saw when I was capturing my network traffic, there were different colors being used, different protocols. So here you see the protocol HTTP, and actually, if I just type in HTTP, it will show me only the HTTP traffic. That kind of concludes it for my presentation. Does anyone else have any other questions before I turn it back over to Mike? All right. Then, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. So if you do think of a question, you can drop it in the chat and we can take care of that for you. Or feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have any questions about his presentation on network traffic analysis. And before I let everyone go, I want to plug our Power Up Cyber Games, which is a youth cybersecurity competition series. Just a couple weeks ago, Jason did another webinar for us on Capture the Flags, which is the type of competition that is used in cybersecurity. And you can find that on our website. And then the registration link for the Power Up Cyber Games Youth Cybersecurity Competition is www.wecyberup.org/inspire-youth/. There's still about a month left to register for that. So you still have plenty of time to get your teams together and get registered. And we are going to have 3 more webinars over the next 3 weeks. Next week will be log analysis. Then we'll have one on Linux, and last will be cryptography. You can always find us on LinkedIn and Facebook as CyberUp, and Instagram and Twitter as @WeCyberUp. And we would love to connect with you there. So please send us a request or follow us or share our content if you like what we're sharing and posting. And thank you very much, Jason, today for your very informative and educational webinar on network traffic analysis. And I just got a question in the chat. Can we have one on pen testing? I don't see why not. I don't have that set up yet, but I can try to find a person to do a pen testing webinar, and I'm happy to do that. And Suresh, you'll see that in our newsletter. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, and then that'll keep you informed of all of our goings on and happenings that we have online and in person once the pandemic passes. So as long as there's no more questions by anyone, anybody last chance for questions? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and cut this a little bit short, give you guys about 15 minutes of your day back. Thanks again, Jason, for your hard work and for your great presentation. We really appreciate it. And thank you for all of our guests for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed what you learned. Everyone have a nice day, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.